In the heart of Bilad Al Sham, the tradition of baking Maamoul, a sweet, fragrant pastry, holds a deep connection to ancient rituals and celebrations. In the days leading up to religious holidays such as Easter, you will find Maamoul being prepared in kitchens across the region, from Christians, Druze, and Muslims to Jews and many other communities. This is a treat that unites people of various faiths who all come from the same root, each adding their own unique twist to the recipe, yet all sharing in the joy of this incredibly delicious pastry. The word Maamoul itself means excellently made, which is very appropriate because these cookies are very much a labor of love that have incredibly detailed craftsmanship included in them. And they are a beautiful cultural heritage that gets passed down from generation to generation. And traditionally, it was quite common for neighbors to exchange plates of these sweets, sharing them with loved ones and guests over cups of coffee as part of the communal joy of the holidays. While relatives to Maamoul are known by different names and varieties, one of the most famous cousins of this pastry is klicha, which has been called by some to be Iraq's national cookie. Klicha, just like Maamoul, is often stuffed with dates or nuts and comes in various shapes, each rich with symbolism, such as half moons, crescents, or round shapes using wooden molds. And they were made in quantities for feasts and religious celebrations by the people of the various religions of these lands. So if you travel across the region, you'll find variations of this sweet treat in places like Egypt, where it's called agamaya, or even further in Iran, and even in the Arab Gulf, all the way to Russia, and even in China. So the real question here is, where do these sweet traditions come from? How deep do these culinary practices actually go? So in order to uncover the origins of Maamoul, we need to go back in time, thousands of years, to the ancient land of Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia is the birthplace of many, many culinary and religious traditions that we still celebrate to this very day. So according to Nawal Nasrallah, a Iraqi food historian and researcher, one of the earliest mentions of a pastry that is strikingly similar to klicha and Maamoul comes from the 13th century recipe book of al-Baghdadi and Ibn al-Adim, who called a similar pastry ernin. So what's fascinating is the name ernin means sweet smelling lady. And this is a title that points us directly to Ishtar, who is also known as Ishtar and Inanna, and she was the Assyrian goddess whose influence spanned across Iraq, Bilad Al Sham, and much of the surrounding areas. Ishtar was one of the most important deities in ancient Mesopotamian mythology. She was not only the goddess of love, war, and sexuality, but also the goddess of fertility, grains, and agriculture, a link that ties directly into the symbolism of Maamoul. It's said that women would knead dough to make cakes as offerings to her, honoring her as the goddess who gave life to the grains and crops. Ishtar's influence spread far and wide, and her festivals, which often marked the new year, were timed with the first crescent of the spring moon. Special pastries were baked in her honor as offerings in temples or served during communal gatherings to celebrate her role in fertility and renewal. And this is where the origins of today's Maamoul began, shaped by the rhythms of the moon and the cycles of nature. In ancient Mesopotamia, baking was actually a thriving business. Temples, palaces, and bazaars were the main places where these pastries were crafted, and they would make these luxurious sweets from date syrup, honey, butter, sesame seeds, rose water, and many other delicious ingredients. These temple bakeries specialized in crafting these sacred treats, sometimes in unique shapes, to symbolize different aspects of Ishtar's nature, like crescent moons, stars, or even hearts and breasts, all meant to celebrate fertility, life, and love. One particularly notable pastry mentioned in the ancient texts is the qalupu, a round, moon-shaped cookie filled with dates or raisins and made with fine wheat flour and sesame oil. These cookies were baked in the traditional tanur ovens, and their round shape symbolized the moon, a celestial body closely linked to Ishtar. The name qulupu is believed to have come from Semitic roots meaning to complete or whole, which was perhaps alluding to the wholeness of the moon, or the cyclical nature of life, or even the baking process itself. The process of completing something that is perfect and whole and delicious. The word could also be related to the Arabic word for the mold we use to create the shape of these sweets, which we call qalib. So today the ritual of baking Maamoul continues as an integral part of religious and cultural celebrations across Bilad Al Sham and beyond. Easter itself, falling on the first Sunday after the first full moon following the spring equinox, has its roots in these ancient lunar celebrations. Noise comes at the right time, doesn't it? Let's see if we can continue. In the Muslim calendar, where the moon determines the timing of feasts like Eid, the moon plays an equally central role, and Maamoul is baked to mark these celebrations, reminding us of how closely connected our culinary traditions are to the ancient rhythms of the sky and the seasons. So when we sit down to enjoy these sweet cookies, whether it's Maamoul, klicha, or their many regional cousins, we're not just savoring a treat. We are tasting the echoes of ancient history, a history that spans millennia. It's a thread that binds us to our ancient ancestors, to traditions that have withstood the passage of time, and to the eternal cycles of life and death. In a world that seeks to sever our ties to this land, to remove us from this land, to claim that we are not the indigenous people of this land, it's these traditions and the heritage that they bring with them, that these pastries remind us that our connection remains, it endures, it is timeless, and it is unbroken, and that nothing can break this connection, nothing and no one.